When I initially came across the first Smile movie, I didn't particularly jump into it with much vigor. In an era where most movies, especially in the horror genre, feel like washed out, repeated tropes, expectations were quite low, but the movie somehow managed to shed all attachment to all of these modern day pitfalls and put forth a fresh, well-rounded and quite frankly scary story. The concept of a demon smiling its way from one victim to the next just seems so unsettling. When the sequel was eventually announced, I yet again had my reservations, especially after learning that the original story was not going to be continued. I felt this new direction risked making the movie becoming a gory mess with no real comparing character or story elements like before. Boy, was I wrong. At this point, I will go as far as to say that Skye, the lead character gracefully brought together by the talented Naomi Scott, ranks as one of the most tragic characters I've ever came across in a movie. We are given front row seats to observe how the plot of the movie tortures and toys with this young woman till her eventual demise, in a way that seems so helpless and yet so relatable. You really feel for her, especially towards the third act. She mustered up all she could to confront this entity head on, but every single time we see that her efforts were futile, as the demon for the most part had total control over her reality, manipulating everything and everyone till she is brought to her knees and consumed by the entity. Over the course of the two movies, we are somewhat misled by the plot into thinking that the protagonists are going to triumph over this demon, but in the end, they stood no chance. And while the plot and overall story mostly ties together with little ambiguity, a single scene left me wondering whether this demon was able to defeat Skye just through sheer fear and deception, or another emotion was the catalyst for her downfall. At the start of the movie, the protagonist is presented to us as a famous pop star who for the past year or so has been trying to get her life back together after recovering from a horrific accident that took the life of her love interest, Paul, leading to her spiraling into a life of drug use and almost putting an end to her career. Now, the said accident wasn't shown or talked about in detail till about halfway through the movie, where in the midst of her own now daily ordeal, struggling to make sense of reality, we see how the night of the accident unfolded, and it shockingly revealed she was the one who steered the car off the road, leading to the death of Paul. Skye, however, doesn't tell this to anyone, as she carries along the guilt of that night throughout the movie. Till this scene right here.
I need to tell you something. What?
We can see that the demon breaks the illusion. Immediately, Skye attempts to come clean and reveal to her supposed friend the real events that took place on the night of the accident. It's the one scene where Skye actually gains control over her reality. This is confirmed with her grabbing the steering wheel, a metaphor for her taking back control of her life. It brings up the question, was this entity so able to overwhelm Skye because of the guilt in her heart over the death of Paul? If she had opened up at the initial stages of her possession, was there really a chance she could actually defeat this demon? We may never know. The movie doesn't really give us much to go on. Maybe that's a good thing. Realistically, once she got possessed, there was no chance of her beating this thing. There was just too much going on in her life at the time. Even when her reality wasn't distorted, an overbearing, profit-driven mom, a nosy personal assistant, and fans who want to gobble her up at every given opportunity made her even more isolated. A broken spirit within gave way for the demon to ease its way in and destroy the life of this young woman. I think the final takeaway is that guilt is a plague resting deep in our mind. The more we keep it within, the likely it is to let in more demons into our lives.